After a year away, something felt off. The wallpaper in the living room had been replaced. Strange considering the place had been locked up all that time. That's when I remembered the security cameras my late wife Dorothy had me install. I pulled up the footage on my phone. What I saw made my heart stop. I'm grateful you're here listening to this story. Before we go further, drop a comment and tell me where are you watching from right now and what time is it there. I'd love to know who's with me on this journey. The drive to the cabin always calmed my nerves. 70 meters of winding roads through the Sierra Nevada. Autumn trees ablaze with orange and gold. I'd made this journey dozens of times since Dorothy and I bought the place 15 years ago. Now, 2 years after her funeral, I made it alone. The silence felt heavier each trip. No Dorothy humming along to the radio. Just me and the growing distance between me and Lauren that I couldn't seem to bridge. 8 months since we'd had a real conversation. I pulled into the gravel driveway and immediately noticed something wrong. The lawn had been mowed recently, edges trimmed neat and professional. I'd canceled the landscaping service 6 months ago. Lauren knew I was coming, but she hadn't mentioned maintaining the property. The key turned smoothly in the lock. Too smoothly. I'd expected that sticky resistance of a door unopened for months. Inside, the air smelled fresh, not musty. No dust coated the entry table. My heart began that slow, heavy rhythm I'd felt in combat 40 years ago in Vietnam. That instinct that something wasn't right. Everything looked exactly as I'd left it last October. The blue sofa, Dorothy's reading chair, our landscape paintings. But the air still held a presence, like someone had just left. Then I saw it, the wallpaper. I stopped mid-step, breath catching. The pattern was the same, Dorothy's delicate floral design, and pale roses climbing cream vines. But the colors were different, brighter, more vivid. The roses glowed with freshness, their pink petals sharp and clear. The original had been faded yellowed by 15 years of afternoon sun. Someone had replaced it. Recently, my hands trembled as I touched the wall. Smooth, perfectly hung without a single bubble. Professional work, expensive work. But why, and who? I called Lauren. For rings, then voicemail. Lauren, it's Dad. I'm at the lake house. I need to talk to you. Call me back. The house felt too quiet, too watchful. In the kitchen, the refrigerator hummed. I'd unplugged it last year. Inside, bottled water, condiments, cheddar cheese, fresh food. Someone had been living here. The realization hit like cold water. Lauren and Nathan, they must have been using the house. But why keep it secret? Why replace the wallpaper? Lauren had been distant since Nathan lost his job 8 months ago. They'd been struggling financially. She'd mentioned it once before changing the subject. I'd offered help, but she refused with that proud, stubborn tone that reminded me of myself. Had they been staying here, that wouldn't bother me. What bothered me was the secrecy. Who replaces wallpaper in a house they don't own? I climbed the stairs. In the master bedroom, the bed was made with different sheets, cream-colored instead of blue floral. The dresser drawer was open. Inside, women's business attire, size 6, Lauren's size. My daughter had been living in my house in secret. Then I remembered the security cameras. Dorothy had always been paranoid about security. After teenagers broke in 3 years ago, she insisted we install hidden cameras. People act different when they don't know they're being watched, she'd said. I thought it was excessive. Now, I was grateful. I sat on the bed and opened the app. My hands shook as I scrolled back 3 months. The room dimmed around me. August 15th, I selected the living room feed and pressed play for hours, and nothing. Afternoon light shifting across an empty room. Then, at 6:47 p.m., the front door opened. Lauren entered first, but not the Lauren I knew. She moved with frantic energy, hair pulled tight, face pale and tense. Her eyes darted like she expected danger. Nathan followed, gaunt, unshaven, and hollow-eyed. He carried something heavy wrapped in blue top, for a trillion long and cylindrical. Whatever it was demanded both hands. They didn't speak, only exchanged sharp glances like rehearsed signals. Lauren rushed to the window, scanning the driveway, her knuckles white on the curtain. She was terrified. Nathan set the bundle down and approached the wall with the fresh wallpaper Dorothy had chosen. He pulled out a utility knife and made a careful incision. He peeled back the layer, revealing plaster beneath, then began cutting with precise, methodical strokes. Dust drifted to the floor as he opened a 2ft square hole, exposing the dark cavity between the studs. Lauren never stopped watching outside. When the opening was ready, Nathan lifted the top-wrapped bundle. He struggled. Its weight surprised him. For a moment, I thought he'd drop it, but he angled it and slowly pushed it into the cavity. It resisted once and panic twisted his face. But then it slid in, disappearing completely into the darkness. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. What had they hidden? Over the next 3 days, Nathan returned repeatedly, each time alone, carrying supplies. He patched the hole, skillfully, plastering, sanding, smoothing, then replaced the wallpaper across the entire wall, making the repair undetectable. They came back twice more in the following weeks. Both times they pressed their ears to the wall. Listening for what? To confirm whatever they'd hidden was still there. Still, something still alive. The thought chilled me. The most recent footage was from 5 days ago. Lauren came alone. She stood before the wall, a long time motionless. Then she pressed her hand against it, and her shoulders shook. She was crying. My daughter stood in my living room touching the wall that held her secret, sobbing as if her heart were breaking. I closed the video. Mind racing. Money. Drugs. Something stolen. None of that matched their fear, their silence, or Lauren's tears. This wasn't about money. It was about survival. My phone buzzed in my hand, jolting me. Lauren calling back. I answered, trying to steady my voice. Lauren, Dad. Her tone was bright. Too bright. Sorry, I was in a meeting. What's up? She had been distant for months, ever since Nathan lost his job. Our talks felt scripted. Careful, I'm at the cabin, I said. Someone's been maintaining it. A pause. Oh yeah, Nathan and I check on it sometimes. Just making sure it's okay. The wallpaper looks fresh. Another pause longer. When she spoke again, her voice had hardened. What do you mean? In the living room. It's been replaced. Dad, you're remembering wrong. That wallpaper's been there for years. I stayed calm. Lauren, I know it's new. I know you've been here. I need to know why. Silence stretched thin and tense. I heard her breathing fast. Dad, please, she whispered. Please don't ask questions. Don't look. Don't. A voice in the background. Nathan, urgent, panicked. I have to go, she said quickly. Please forget you noticed anything. Please. She hung up. I stared at my phone. My daughter had lied, then begged me to ignore the truth. Her fear wasn't about using my cabin without permission. It was deeper, shaking her voice. Every instinct told me to call the police. But another instinct, older, stronger, held me back. I remembered the little girl who once ran to me whenever she was scared, trusting me to protect her. I went downstairs and faced the wall. The new wallpaper looked perfect, harmless. Behind it, something hidden had terrified my daughter and turned Nathan into a shell of himself. I went to my car and found the small crowbar Dorothy had insisted I keep. You never know when you'll need to pry something open, she'd said. I'd laughed then. Now, I was grateful. Back inside, I approached the wall. Dorothy's voice echoed in my head. Sometimes you have to break things to fix them. I pressed the crowbar against the seam near the molding. The fresh adhesive popped free easily. I peeled back a corner, exposing patched plaster. One strike, and the plaster cracked like an eggshell. I reached into the dark cavity. My fingers touched something cold, smooth plastic wrapping. I grabbed and pulled. The bundle was heavy and awkward. It took all my strength to drag it out and lower it to the floor. My back protested, but adrenaline pushed me. I knelt beside it, breathing hard. The blue top was newer than in the footage. Under it were layers of tightly sealed plastic. My heart pounded. What had my daughter become involved in? For a moment, I thought of stopping calling Lauren, giving her a chance to explain. But it was too late now. My hands shook as I unwrapped the tarp. Then the plastic beneath. Inside was a waterproof container, sealed tight. My fingers felt clumsy as I broke the waterproof seal. The container opened with a soft hiss. Inside were a tablet wrapped in plastic stacks of original documents, USB drives, and a handwritten note. Insurance do not destroy. Lives depend on this. Nathan's handwriting. I sat on the floor surrounded by the scattered contents and powered on the tablet. The battery still worked. The home screen held a single folder. Garrett Properties Group. My stomach dropped. Raymond Garrett, a billionaire developer, had dominated the news with accusations of fraud, bribery, and environmental crimes. 6 months earlier, he'd publicly denied everything. Nathan had once worked as a compliance officer, auditing Garrett's projects. That explained how he had access. I opened the folder. Spreadsheets, emails, contracts, photos of checks, bank statements, everything labeled, dated. These weren't just files. They were a complete legal roadmap. And they were originals. Documents with signatures. Notarized seals, physical stamps, proof impossible to dispute. My phone rang, startling me. Lauren, her voice shook. Dad, are you still at the cabin? Yes. A broken breath. Oh God. Did you find it? I found it. Dad, put it back. Sealed the wall, forget it. Lauren, this is evidence of major crimes. I know, she hissed. That's why you need to hide it again. She was crying. They're looking for it. Garrett's people. Nathan documented everything to protect himself. Then his supervisor died. Died car accident, supposedly. And Nathan's apartment was broken into twice. Nothing taken. Just searched. You went to authorities. We tried a lawyer. A really good one. He reviewed everything and warned us to be extremely careful. He said people with Garrett's money don't fall easily. What happened to the lawyer? Heart attack. He was 52 and ran marathons. That was 3 months ago. A sound outside froze me. Footsteps on gravel. I moved to the window. A black SUV idled beside my car. 2 men in dark suits stood on the porch, one speaking into a phone. Dad, LaRon whispered. Are you there? 2 men. Black SUV. She began hyperventilating. Oh no. They must have been monitoring. Dad, you need to leave now. The doorbell rang. Don't answer. It rang again. Then a heavy knock. A smooth voice called Mr. Coleman. We know you're in there. We just want to talk, Lauren sobbed. Dad, please. I looked at the evidence spread across the floor. Nathan and Lauren had hidden this here, risking everything. 2 men who tried to help them were dead. Now Garrett's people stood at my door. An old instinct from Vietnam surged through me. When outnumbered and outgunned, you don't stay and fight. You take what matters and move. I grabbed the waterproof container, held it tight, and ran for the basement stairs. My hip-ocked arthritis getting worse every year, but adrenaline pushed me forward. Behind me, the front door splintered. Heavy footsteps crossed the floor above. Mr. Coleman, we don't want trouble. Just need to ask about your daughter. The basement was dark. I navigated around old workbenches, past boxes of Christmas decorations. I reached the bulkhead stairs and pushed. The door resisted, swollen with moisture. I can hear you down there. The voice was closer at the top of the basement stairs. I pushed harder, using my shoulder, ignoring the pain. The bulkhead gave way with a shriek of hinges. Cool evening air hit my face. I scrambled out and ran. Actually ran across the back lawn, toward the tree. Behind me, shouts the bulkhead. Crashing open footsteps pounding. When had I last run like this? 20 years, 30. My body had forgotten how, but muscle memory kicked in. Old training from Vietnam. When you're hunted, you move. I reached the woods and plunged into undergrowth. Branches tore at my clothes. My lungs burned. The bundle felt like 100 pounds. My arm screamed. My hips sent bolts of pain up my spine. But I kept going for Lauren. For my grandchildren. The footsteps behind me slowed. They were tracking now. Taking their time. I was 67. Carrying a heavy load. They were younger, stronger. But they didn't know these woods like I did. Dorothy and I had hiked every trail around this lake for 15 years. I knew where the creek ran, where the old logging road cut through to the highway. Her voice echoed. This trail leads to the creek. I changed direction toward the sound of running water. Water would mask my footsteps. A sound to my left. The second man. They'd split up, flanking me. I pushed through brush toward the creek. The sound grew louder, covering my noise. The creek appeared silver and fading light. I splashed across, soaking my shoes, and climbed the opposite bank behind me. Very close. Mr. Coleman, this is foolish. We're not going to hurt you. Just need what you're carrying. I kept moving, using trees for support, forcing my old body forward, just a little farther. Then I saw headlights through the trees. A car on the road. I crashed through the last brush and stumbled onto gravel. A police cruiser pulled to a stop, roof. Lights flashing. A young officer got out, hand on his holster. Sir, are you Mr. Coleman? We got a 911 call. I gasped, clutching the bundle. Someone broke into my house. 2 men. They chased me. They're still back there. He spoke into his radio. Within minutes, more cruisers arrived. The woods filled with flashlights and voices. An organized search. But when they swept the forest, they found no one. The black SUV was gone from my driveway. The only evidence of intrusion was my broken front door lock and the gaping hole in my living room wall. Officer Harris stood in my living room, staring at the gaping hole in the wall. His name tag glinted as he turned to me. Mr. Coleman, want to explain why you tore apart your own wall? I was still breathing hard, the waterproof container at my feet. Family papers. I forgot where I'd stored them. Family papers. His tone was flat. Important enough that 2 men broke into your house to get them. I don't know what they wanted. You're not being honest with me, sir. My phone buzzed. A text from Lauren. Don't trust anyone. Nathan says Garrett has connections in every police department. Don't say anything. I looked at Harris young, eager, maybe 2 years out of the academy. Could I trust him? Could I trust anyone? I need to make a phone call. I said to my lawyer. You need a lawyer. I need to call my nephew. He's a federal prosecutor in Seattle. Harris hesitated. Go ahead. My hands shook as I dialed. Patrick answered quickly. Uncle Jimmy, everything okay? Patrick, I found something. Documents. Evidence of fraud, maybe worse. Police are here asking questions. What kind of documents? Financial records. Emails about Garrett Properties Group. Bribery FC reports. Wait, Raymond Garrett. You know him. He's been under FBI investigation for 2 years. We can't touch him. He has connections everywhere. His voice sharpened. Uncle Jimmy, do not show those to local police. Don't sign anything. Invoke your rights. Put the officer on. I handed the phone to Harris. I caught bits. Federal evidence. Obstruction. FBI Reno office. 3 minutes later, Harris returned the phone. His demeanor transformed. Agent Torres from the Reno field office is sending a team. You're to remain here with the evidence until they arrive. Patrick said. Sit tight. Don't let anyone near it. The FBI will handle this. 2 hours later, 3 black SUVs arrived. 6 tactical agents stepped out, led by a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes. Mr. Coleman, I'm Special Agent Michelle Taus. You're coming with us along with the evidence. The Reno hotel was nondescript. They placed me in a conference room with Torres while forensic techs worked on the documents and tablet. We've been building a case against Garrett for 26 months, Torres said. Your son-in-law recorded bank transfers, fake reports, bribes, threats. This could bring down Garrett and dozens of others. Relief washed through me. Nathan had been helping the FBI. Then Torres opened her laptop and turned it toward me. But there's a problem. On the screen, emails from Nathan to someone named Jay Bradford. Payment terms $425,000 for full evidence package. $60,000 deposit. My stomach dropped. Jay Bradford is Cameron Drake Torres said, Garrett's biggest rival. Nathan wasn't planning to give this to authorities. He intended to sell it. No, Lauren wouldn't. We also found messages between Nathan and Garrett's people. He was playing both sides, auctioning the evidence. I couldn't breathe. Torres clicked to another document. A bank statement. Offshore account opened 3 months ago. Account holder James Coleman. Balance $285,000. I didn't open that, I said. Opened using your social security number and driver's license. Deposits match Nathan's timeline. My hands trembled. Someone stole my identity. Torres studied me. Who had access to your personal documents? Mr. Coleman. I stared at the screen, the numbers blurring. I already knew the answer. No. My voice came out hoarse. I never agreed to anything. But Torres wasn't finished. She pulled up more documents, spreading them across the table. The account was opened in July, 3 months ago. Using your information. $285,000 deposited, mid-August. She tapped the screen. 3 days later, $28,000 was withdrawn. Transferred to a domestic account belonging to Lauren. My stomach dropped. Your daughter accessed that money. Used it to pay off credit card debt. Make mortgage payments. I thought back 3 months. Lauren had suddenly seemed less stressed on phone calls. She'd mentioned Nathan found consulting work. Things were getting better. Now I felt sick. Maybe she wanted to believe it. Torres said quietly. Maybe she was desperate enough not to ask questions. She closed the folder. The account in your name makes you look complicit. The money transferred to Lauren makes her look guilty. Nathan's communications with both Drake and Garrett showed dangerous double dealing. What do you want from me? The truth. All of it. So I told her. How Lauren became distant last year. Fewer visits, shorter calls. Always anxious. Nathan had always been harder to read. Charming, but evasive. Never quite looking me in the eye. I'd never fully trusted him, but kept quiet, because Lauren loved him. Torres listened without interrupting. When did things change? She asked. About 8 months ago, right after Nathan lost his job. Lauren had called one night late, crying. Said everything was falling apart. Nathan was acting strange, paranoid. Coming home with documents he wouldn't explain. She was scared. I'd offered help. Told her to come stay with me. She'd refused. Said Nathan needed her leaving would make things worse. That was the last honest conversation we'd had. Did Nathan ever contact you directly? Once about 6 months ago, he asked about the Lake Tahoe cabin. Whether I still owned it. Whether anyone else had keys. Whether I visited often. The memory turned bitter. He was planning where to hide the evidence. Did he ask about your personal documents? Not directly, but he'd been to my house dozens of times. Knew where I kept things. A knock interrupted us. Another agent stepped in, whispered to Torres. Her face darkened. Oh, lawyer just showed up demanding to see you. Claims he represents you, that we're violating your rights. I didn't hire a lawyer except Patrick. This one's local, very expensive. and very connected to Raymond Garrett. My blood went cold. Garrett sent him, Torres said. Which means Garrett knows you're here and is making a move. She stood. Don't talk to that lawyer. Don't sign anything. Don't leave this room. She left me alone. My phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Mr. Coleman, this is Cameron Drake. Your son-in-law made promises he can't keep. Now you're all in danger. I can help, but only if you trust me. Meet me outside the hotel back parking lot. 1 hour. Come alone. I stared at the screen. Before I could process it, the door opened. Torres returned her phone ringing. She answered, listened to her face losing all color. She hung up, looked at me. Nathan's gone. What do you mean, gone? He was being transferred to a secure facility. The transport vehicle was ambushed 10 miles outside Reno. 2 agents were injured. She looked at me grimly. Either Garrett took him or Nathan's working with whoever ambushed us. Either way, everyone involved in this case is now in immediate danger. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Drake. 30 minutes. Your daughter's immunity depends on what you do next. I stared at the screen. I was in a hotel room under FBI protection. Yet Drake was texting me. How, unless the FBI wanted Drake to contact me? Torres had said, we recorded everything. What if this was part of the plan? But I couldn't risk it. Lauren's freedom was at stake. I need to use the bathroom again, I told Torres. Stress is affecting my stomach. She nodded. Agent Wallace escorted me down the hallway. His radio crackled. Urgent voices. Footsteps rushing elsewhere. Something was drawing attention away. I entered the bathroom. Locked the door. Small window above the toilet. I climbed up every joint protesting. 8 foot drop to the ground. I fell. Stumbled. But I was out. The back parking lot stretched ahead. A silver sedan in the far corner. Engine running. As I approached the driver's window, lowered steel gray hair, sharp eyes. Mr. Coleman, get in quickly. I hesitated. Your daughter has about 6 hours before the FBI decides she's more useful as a defendant than a witness. I got in. Drake drove off, taking small streets, constantly checking mirrors. Finally, I'll be straight. Your son-in-law approached me 4 months ago. Evidence of Garrett's crimes. He wanted $425,000 for it. I paid $60,000 deposit. Did he deliver? No. He was also negotiating with Garrett, playing us against each other. Drake's jaw tightened. Garrett offered $700,000 in a job. New identities for everyone. But Nathan got greedy. Made copies. Kept some back. That's why they're hunting him. Drake turned onto a dirt road. Nathan told me he made 3 complete sets. 1 in your cabin. That's what you found. 1 in a safe deposit box, and 1 hidden in his house. We're going to get that 3rd set now. Why should I help you? Because I have recordings of Nathan saying Lauren didn't know anything, that he manipulated her. Those recordings can prove her innocence. I'll trade them for the evidence. I thought of Lauren, face pale with fear. My grandchildren, hiding somewhere scared. What do you need me to do? We drove to Lauren's suburban neighborhood at dusk. An unmarked car, parked 3 houses down. 2 agents visible. Drake parked around the corner. Walk to the house. Use your key. Nathan hid the evidence in the basement behind a false panel, in the hot water heater closet. Get it, and bring it out the back door. I'll wait in the alley. I walked up Lauren's front path. Used my key. The door opened to silence. Found the basement stairs descended into darkness. Phone flashlight. Found the water heater. Behind it, the wall looked solid. Then I noticed the screws. 4 of them painted over. Found a screwdriver in a toolbox. The screws came out reluctantly. The panel pulled away. Inside another waterproof container, identical to the cabin's. Footsteps above. Voices. Mr. Coleman, FBI. We know you're in there. I grabbed the container, ran for the back door. Drake's sedan appeared. Door open. I threw myself inside. Drive. Behind us. Shouts, flashlights. But we were gone. Did you get it? I held up the container. Open it. Verify it's real. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside USB drives, documents, a tablet, and something else. A handwritten letter. Lauren's handwriting. Dad, if you're reading this, everything's gone terribly wrong. I read through tears. Lauren didn't know what Nathan was doing until 3 months ago. Thought they'd go to authorities. Didn't know Nathan was selling it. When she confronted him, Nathan said it was too late. He'd opened the offshore account in my name without telling her. Said if she told police I'd be arrested. We'd all go to prison. I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have come to you immediately. I should have trusted you would help us. If anything happens to me, please take care of my children. Tell them their mother loved them more than anything. The evidence in this box is complete. It can destroy Garrett, but it can also destroy us if it falls into the wrong hands. I don't know who to trust anymore except you. I trust you, Dad. Whatever you decide to do with this, I know you'll choose what's right. You always do. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I looked up. Drake was watching. Expression. Calculating. Touching. Now give it to me. The recordings first, proving Lauren's innocent. Drake smiled coldly. Mr. Coleman, I don't have any recordings. I never did. You lied. I did what I needed to. Drake reached into his jacket. Give it to me, and I'll let you go. What about Lauren? She's on her own. Drake's hand moved toward the weapon inside his jacket. I thought about Dorothy, who'd always said I was too trusting, but I'd been a history teacher for 40 years. Knew how to find truth beneath surfaces, and in the last 6 hours, I'd learned something important. I'd texted Drake while under FBI custody. They'd taken my phone twice to charge it. The FBI had access to everything. They'd seen those messages. They'd allowed me to escape. Let Drake take me because they'd been tracking us the whole time. Mr. Drake, I said calmly. You know what? I think you've been very foolish. Drake's face changed. Your car doors burst open. FBI agents swarmed in weapons, drawn voices shouting orders. Drake was pulled from the driver's seat, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. Agent Torres appeared at the car door, helping me out. You okay, Jimmy? You were tracking us the whole time. Every word. We saw Drake's messages when we charged your phone. When he contacted you, we decided to let it play out. Torres guided me toward another vehicle. You did well, better than we expected. You used me as bait. We protected you. Agents were always within 50 feet. She paused. But yes, we used you. I'm sorry. I should have been angry. All I felt was exhausted relief. What happens to Lauren now? Jimmy, your daughter's telling the truth. She was manipulated, threatened, kept in the dark. We're offering immunity in exchange for testimony against both Garrett and Drake, and me. The offshore account was identity theft. You're cleared. Torres smiled. You're actually a hero. Without you, we'd still be fumbling in the dark. The FBI brought me to a conference room where Lauren was waiting. When we saw each other, no words were needed. I held my daughter as she cried. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dad. I know. Sweetheart. I know. Torres explained everything. Nathan had recorded years of Garrett's crimes, but been tempted by money. The fake kidnapping was how the FBI forced everyone to act. With Nathan missing, all the players moved quickly, exposing themselves. Now we're building cases. Garrett, Drake, and about 15 others will go down for corruption, fraud, bribery, environmental crimes. But there was one more problem. A journalist, Samantha Rhodes, brought evidence that Judge Douglas Kent was compromised payments from Garrett's shell companies to Kent's brother. Torres examined the document's face, darkening. The trial could be delayed for months, but it's the right thing to do. 3 months later, I stood in the living room of the Lake Tahoe cabin, examining the repaired wall. You couldn't tell anything had ever been hidden there. New wallpaper, perfectly hung, the same pattern Dorothy had chosen, but lighter, more vibrant, a symbol of things brought into light. Outside, snow drifted across the frozen lake. Inside, fire crackling in the stone fireplace. The trials had begun 2 weeks ago. Judge Kent had been removed, his brother arrested. The case was reassigned to a federal judge with an impeccable reputation. The trial lasted a month. Nathan and Lauren testified for 3 exhausting days. Lauren described how her husband deceived her, how she discovered the truth too late. She cried on the witness stand. The jury listened with sympathy. Nathan's testimony was harder to watch, detailing everything. The crimes witnessed attempts to sell evidence, escalating panic, admitting the greed, the cowardice, the lies. Both testimonies were devastating for Garrett. The evidence was overwhelming. The verdict came 6 weeks later. I was at Lauren's house helping pack my grandchildren's things so they could return home. My phone buzzed with the news. I called Lauren immediately. It's done. He's guilty. All 43 counts. She burst into tears. When she came back to the line, her voice was steadier. Dad, I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to. You're my daughter. This is what fathers do. No, this is what extraordinary fathers do. She paused. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know it'll take years to rebuild your trust. But I want you to know I'll be better. You already are that person, Lauren. You just forgot for a while. In the weeks after life began to feel normal again, Nathan and Lauren decided not to take new identities. They wanted to rebuild their lives here, face what they'd done, start over with honesty. My grandchildren visited me at the cabin. We walked the trails Dorothy and I loved, fished in the stream, roasted marshmallows by the fire. The final night of their visit, After the kids slept, I sat alone on the porch, watching stars appear over the lake. My hip ached, my hands were liver-spotted, my hair completely white. I looked exactly like what I was, a man past 67, marked by time. But I felt different than a year ago. Stronger, more certain. The house behind me was quiet, filled with sleeping grandchildren. The lake before me was still reflecting starlight. This place had been violated, used as a hiding place for secrets. Now it was mine again. Clean, honest, safe. My phone buzzed, a message from Lauren. "Thank you for everything, Dad. I love you more than words can express." I texted back, "I love you, too." Then added, "And no more secrets." Her response came immediately. "No more secrets. I promise." I believed her, or perhaps chose to believe her. Sometimes faith is an act of will, a decision to trust again, even after betrayal. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of pine and coming rain. I went inside to bank the fire before bed. As I locked the door, I caught my reflection in the dark window. An old man, yes, but one who'd survived something extraordinary. One who'd used intelligence instead of strength, patience instead of panic, wisdom instead of force. Dorothy used to say, age was just a number. Now I understood what she really meant. Age wasn't weakness. It was accumulated knowledge, experience, the ability to see patterns, think strategically. I'd spent my career teaching history, teaching people how to find truth. Those skills had saved my family. Those skills, patient, unglamorous, had brought down a criminal empire. I climbed the stairs to bed, feeling every year of 67, but also feeling satisfied in a way I hadn't in a long time. The mystery solved. The criminals caught, the family safe. The wall repaired, stronger now than before. Just like me, I slept that night without nightmares, without fear, wrapped in the knowledge that I'd done everything right. Not perfectly. There had been mistakes, close calls, moments of doubt, but I'd protected what mattered. And I'd won. That was enough. More than enough. That was everything. Looking back on everything that happened, I realized how close I came to losing my family forever. The lesson I learned: don't wait until secrets destroy everything you love. When someone you care about starts acting distant, scared, or evasive, reach out immediately. Don't assume they'll come to you. Sometimes people are trapped in situations they can't escape alone. My advice: trust, but verify. Love deeply, but keep your eyes open. And never underestimate the power of patience and wisdom over panic and force. I'm grateful to God for giving me the strength to keep going when I was terrified, the clarity to think strategically when chaos surrounded me, and the chance to save my daughter before it was too late. This true story taught me that age isn't a weakness, it's a weapon. Grandpa stories aren't just about the past. They're proof that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when family is on the line. This is my true story, and I'm sharing it so you'll recognize the warning signs I missed. If this true story resonated with you, please leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel for more real grandpa stories like this one. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video with them. Your support means everything. At my wife's 60th birthday party, surrounded by 70 guests and champagne toasts, my 13-year-old grandson whispered with shaking hands, "We have to get out of here right now. I have something you need to see. Please, Grandpa, trust me." I thought he was being paranoid, maybe overwhelmed by the crowd. But when I followed him to the parking lot, and he locked us both inside the car, his face pale and serious, he showed me something that made me call the police immediately. I'm so grateful you're here. What I'm about to tell you happened at 7:00 p.m. on a summer evening in Charleston. Where are you right now? What time is it? Comment below. I want to know who's listening as I take you back to that parking lot. My wife Marilyn looked radiant in her coral dress, laughing with friends she'd known for 40 years. The string lights above Waterfront Harbor Hall cast a warm glow across her face. And for a moment, I thought this might be the best birthday she'd ever had. Then I noticed my son Blake checking his watch for the third time in 10 minutes. The party was everything Marilyn wanted. 60 guests filled the elegant venue overlooking Charleston Harbor. The summer humidity hung thick, but nobody minded. A jazz quartet played softly, and the buffet overflowed with low country favorites: shrimp and grits, she crab soup, sweet tea, and crystal pitchers. Marilyn's bridge club ladies surrounded her, sharing stories that made her throw her head back, laughing. At 60, my wife was more alive than people half her age. Blake stood near the bar with his wife, Crystal, both wearing smiles that didn't reach their eyes. I'd raised the boy. I knew when something was wrong. Crystal kept scanning the room like she was counting inventory. Her hand drifted to her oversized purse every few minutes, touching it like she was checking something was still there. "Grandpa," My 13-year-old grandson pale, despite the warm evening. We need to talk now. Lucas, it's your grandmother's birthday. Can it wait? No. His voice cracked, and I saw something in his eyes that made my chest tighten. At 13, Lucas was sharper than most adults I knew. But right now, he looked scared. Please, Grandpa, trust me. The urgency in his voice cut through everything. I followed him past Marilyn, who was too engrossed in conversation to notice us leaving, past Blake, whose eyes tracked us for just a second before looking away. The parking lot was quieter, just distant jazz and water lapping against harbor pilings. Lucas led me to my Lexus and climbed in. Before I could ask what was happening, he hit the locks. All 4 doors chunked shut. Lucas, you're scaring me. Good. His hands shook as he pulled out his phone. Grandpa, something's very wrong with Dad and Mom. My throat tightened. What are you talking about? I heard them earlier. When I went to get Grandma's purse from their car, they were behind it talking. They didn't see me. Tears formed in his eyes. Grandpa, my parents are planning something terrible. Tonight, they're going to take Grandma somewhere. They were talking about papers she signed about a nursing home, about making her confused. Slow down. Your parents wouldn't. Blake is my son. I know what I heard. His jaw set with stubbornness. I recognized, that's why I recorded it. Through the windshield, I could see Marilyn cutting her birthday cake, surrounded by people who loved her. Blake stood nearby, taking pictures like any devoted son would, like any devoted son should. You recorded your own parents. Lucas's face crumpled. I didn't know what else to do. They're my mom and dad, and I love them. But Grandpa, what they were saying, his voice broke. I couldn't just do nothing. I looked at my grandson, this 13-year-old boy who'd just done something requiring more courage than I could imagine. Show me. Lucas's thumb hovered over the play button. Once you hear this, we can't unhear it. And they're my parents. I know. I squeezed his shoulder. Show me, anyway. He took a shaky breath. I recorded them. My dad and mom. Grandpa, they're planning to take Grandma tonight. Play it, I said, though part of me didn't want to hear what my own son, Lucas's own father, had been planning. The voices on Lucas's phone were muffled, but unmistakable. My son Blake and his wife Crystal. Lucas's own parents, planning my wife's imprisonment. Blake's voice came first. She signed the papers this morning. Right? Power of attorney, medical and financial. Crystal sounded like she was discussing a business deal. Your mother thinks they were Medicare forms. Didn't even read them. Lucas flinched beside me. The house? Blake asked. $680,000. We can close in 30 days, once she's placed at Palmetto Gardens. My hands gripped the steering wheel. They were selling Marilyn's house, our home for 40 years, like a stock investment. What about Dr. Bartlett? Blake's voice carried that familiar anxiety I'd heard since he was a boy. He filed preliminary paperwork yesterday. He'll assess her tonight at the party site concerning behaviors recommend immediate placement. Crystal's confidence was chilling. Blake, we've planned this for 3 months, since your mother inherited that money from her sister. $250,000 plus the house. We can't let her waste it. 3 months since Sarah died. What if she fights? She won't have a choice. Emergency authority. And if she's confused tonight, resist leaving. That just supports our case. How do we make her confused? I have Decipum in my purse. 10 milligrams in her champagne during the toast. 30 minutes later, she'd be disoriented, slurring, unable to stand. Perfect for Dr. Bartlett's assessment. Lucas made a small choked sound. You sure this works? Blake asked. Marker's operation has done this 15 times in Charleston alone. Crystal's certainty turned my stomach. By tomorrow, your mother will be in Palmetto Gardens. We'll have power of attorney, and we can liquidate assets. Your father will thank us eventually. The recording ended. Silence filled the car. Through the windshield, the party continued. Marilyn laughing. Guests dancing. Blake and Crystal, playing devoted children. This was my son, the boy I taught to shake hands and look people in the eye, now planning to drug his own mother for money. Grandpa. Lucas's voice broke. I'm sorry. They're my parents and I love them, but I heard them, and you did the right thing. I forced the words out. Lucas, this isn't your fault. But they're my mom and dad. If I turn them in, if you don't, they destroy your grandmother. I squeezed his shoulder. What? They're planning, drugging her, lying about her mental state. That's not family. That's criminal. What do we do? I dialed 911 with trembling hands. 911. What's your emergency? Stanley Thorne. My son and daughter-in-law are planning to drug my wife and illegally commit her to a nursing home tonight. They have the drugs now. Your location, sir. Waterfront Harbor Hall, Charleston. My wife's birthday party. My grandson recorded their conversation. Officers dispatched. 15 minutes. Is your wife currently safe? Through the window, Blake approached Marilyn with champagne glasses. Crystal stood nearby, hand on her purse. She's inside with them. They're going to drug her champagne. Do not intervene directly. Maintain visual contact. Officers will arrive shortly. 15 minutes might be too long. Sir, confronting them could escalate the situation. I watched Blake hand Marilyn a glass. Crystal reaching into her purse. We're going back inside. I hung up. Grandpa, the police said. I'm not letting them drug your grandmother while we wait in a parking lot. I opened the car door. We go back. We act normal. We stay between them and her until police arrive. Can you do that? Lucas wiped his eyes. Nodded. Through the venue windows, I could see Blake checking his watch again. Crystal's hand still in her purse. Touching something. They were running out of time to execute whatever they'd planned. We have maybe 10 minutes before they make their move. Lucas whispered as we walked toward the entrance. We need to get back inside now. Walking back into the party felt like stepping into enemy territory. Marilyn sat surrounded by people who adored her. Mrs. Ruth Dennis, neighbors, church friends. And there were Blake and Crystal smiling like beautiful children, while planning to drug and imprison her. Blake spotted us at once. Dad, Lucas. Where did you disappear to? Car trouble, I said evenly. Thought the battery might be dying. Lucas helped me check. He studied my face. My own son searching for lies. Everything okay? Battery's fine. False alarm. Lucas stood beside me, hands in his pockets. Blake glanced at his 13-year-old son, the boy who had just recorded his parents plotting a crime. You all right, buddy? You look pale. Just hot out there. Lucas replied, steadier than I felt. I scanned the room for the officers. There, a woman, in a simple dress near Marilyn's table, too alert to be a guest. Another, by the buffet holding a plate he wasn't eating from. Officer Reyes had made it inside. Crystal appeared with her oversized purse. Marilyn looks tired. I brought special herbal tea. Let me make her a cup right now. My throat tightened. Somewhere in that purse were pills meant to turn my wife into someone who required immediate placement. Grandma doesn't need tea now, Lucas said, reaching for the bag. I'll put it in the car. She can enjoy it later. Crystal's grip tightened. It's meant for tonight to help her relax. That's thoughtful. Crystal, Marilyn said, appearing beside us radiant. But I'm not stressed at all. I'm having a wonderful time. Save it for another day. Lucas slipped away with the bag toward Officer Reyes. I saw the discreet exchange. The purse passed off the officer, heading for the exit. Soon they'd test the contents and confirm Crystal's herbs for what they really were. Blake touched my arm and guided me aside. Dad, we need to talk about Mom. Here it came, concern wrapped around deceit. What about her? She signed papers last week. Power of attorney, medical and financial. She thought they were Medicare forms. It's more serious. She needs professional care. I forced confusion, not rage. She seems fine to me. She hides it well. The forgetfulness, confusion. Dr. Bartlett has documented concerns. He's here tonight. I asked him to do a wellness check at her birthday party. The sooner, the better. Blake squeezed my shoulder. A picture of the worried son. We've arranged a room at Palmetto Gardens. Beautiful place. If Dr. Bartlett confirms what we suspect, she could move in tomorrow. Tomorrow, less than 24 hours. That seems fast. I know, but she'd be safe there. Cared for. We'll handle everything. The house, her finances, all the stress. You won't have to worry. Across the room, Marilyn laughed with Mrs. Ruth. 60 years old and sharper than most people half her age. She planned her garden months ahead. Devoured books. Remembered every birthday without writing anything down. And my son wanted to bury her in a memory care unit so he could sell her house. Let me think about it, I said. Of course. But Dr. Bartlett should still assess her routine. You trust him, right? 12 years as our family physician. 12 years. And I had never imagined he could be bought. Blake's eyes shifted, tracking someone. I need to use the restroom. I followed his gaze. Dr. Kenneth Bartlett was weaving toward Marilyn, medical bag in hand. Professional smile fixed in place. A trusted physician moving with confidence. Except tonight. He wasn't here to heal. He was here to lie. My wife's doctor, the man who had cared for our family for over a decade, was about to become part of my son's conspiracy. And I had to watch it happen. Had to let it unfold. The police needed more than a recording. They needed to catch them in the act. Dr. Bartlett reached Marilyn's table, greeted her warmly, and she smiled back, unaware he had come to destroy her. Dr. Kenneth Bartlett had been our family physician for 12 years. I trusted him with my health. Marilyn's health, Lucas's childhood illnesses. I'd never imagined he could be bought. He reached Marilyn's table with his professional smile. Marilyn, happy birthday. You look wonderful. Ken, I didn't know you were coming. Wouldn't miss it. He set his medical bag down. Though these celebrations can be overwhelming at our age. Any dizziness, confusion with all the activity? Marilyn's smile faltered. I feel fine. Why? Just routine. Blake mentioned some memory concerns, misplacing keys, forgetting appointments. I thought we could do a quick cognitive check. A few simple questions. I stepped between them. At her birthday party, Ken, his mask flickered. It's perfectly casual. Stanley. Blake appeared. Dad, Dr. Bartlett's trying to help Mom. My voice rose loud enough the conversation stopped. Help by declaring her incompetent at her own party. Guest turned. Mrs. Ruth Dennison stared. Marilyn stood, alarm crossing her face. Stanley, what's going on? I need to talk to you. I took her hand privately now. I led her onto the piazza, overlooking Charleston Harbor. Warm night air, saltwater scent, string lights casting shadows. Through windows, Blake and Crystal talked urgently. Lucas stood alone watching. You're scaring me. Marilyn, Blake, and Crystal have been planning something for 3 months since Sarah died. Planning what? To put you in a nursing home, sell your house, take control of everything. She pulled back. That's absurd. Those papers you signed last week, the Medicare forms. Her face went pale. The power of attorney. They gave Blake legal control, medical and financial. Tonight, Dr. Bartlett was supposed to assess you. Document confusion, recommend immediate placement at Palmetto Gardens. I'm not confused. I know, but they were going to make you seem that way. They have drugs to put in your champagne. You'd be disoriented, confused. Dr. Bartlett would cite that as evidence you need immediate care. She gripped the railing. How do you know this? Lucas recorded them planning everything. I heard the whole conversation. Lucas, her voice broke. He heard his parents planning to drug you and steal your house. He chose to protect you instead of them. Through the window, Lucas stood small and alone, watching his parents with an expression that broke my heart. 13 years old, sacrificing his relationship with his mother and father to save his grandmother. Marilyn followed my gaze. Oh God, that poor boy. He did the right thing. I know. Tears filled her eyes. Those papers, Blake sat at my kitchen table and walked me through them. Said they were insurance updates. He's my son. I trusted him. 3 months they've been planning this. Sarah's inheritance. $250,000 cash plus your house. They wanted to liquidate everything. She looked back at Blake talking with Dr. Bartlett. Crystal watching exits. Lucas alone because he'd chosen right over loyalty. My own son, she whispered. I saw her face change. Shock hardening into something else. Not just a woman who'd been betrayed. A woman who understood the danger she was in and refused to be a victim. What do we do? Police are coming. I called them from the parking lot. Officers are already inside in plain clothes. They should. The lights went out. Darkness swallowed the piazza, the party, everything. Through the sudden blackness, I heard gasps from inside the venue. Then Marilyn's hand tightened on mine, and I knew Blake's contingency plan had just begun. 10 seconds later, emergency lights bathed the room in pulsing red. In that glow, I saw my son move. Blake seized Marilyn's arm. Mom, we need to evacuate. The building isn't safe. Get your hands off her. My voice carried across the stunned room. He tightened his grip. Dad, move. I'm trying to help. I shoved him back by dragging her to Palmetto Gardens tonight. We faced each other in the red haze. Marilyn behind me, Blake in front of me. My son, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to be decent. He lunged again, trying to pull Marilyn past me. I grabbed his shirt, and for a moment, we struggled father against son, while 70 guests stared. Dad, stop. Lucas's voice cut through everything. He stepped into the crimson light, phone raised, tears streaking his face. I recorded you, he said. Everything. The parking lot, the plan to drug Grandma, Palmetto Gardens, the house, all of it. Blake froze, staring at his 13-year-old son. Lucas, you don't understand. Police, nobody move. Officer Stephanie Reyes stepped forward, badge, flashing her partner beside her. More officers emerged from the kitchen with Detective Andrew Sullivan. Blake, Thorne, Crystal Thorne, Sullivan announced. You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit elder abuse, fraud, and attempted kidnapping. Crystal screamed. This is insane. We were trying to help. Ma'am, put the bag down, Reyes ordered. Crystal clutched her purse, but Reyes grabbed it, opening it on a nearby table. Inside lay a bottle labeled Diazepam 10 Meadows, not in Crystal's name, and fully completed commitment papers for Palmetto Gardens. Marilyn's information already forged. You little traitor. Crystal spat at Lucas, her face twisting. We're your parents. We gave you everything. Lucas didn't flinch. Though crying, his voice stayed firm. And she's my grandma. Somebody had to protect her. Even from you. Blake's voice cracked. Not with remorse, but rage. Do you know what you've done? You destroyed it, Dad. Lucas whispered. When you decided Grandma's life was worth $680,000. Officers pulled Blake's arms behind him. Handcuffs clicked, and a calm voice read him his rights. He didn't look at me or Marilyn. He looked only at Lucas with cold resentment. Crystal fought harder, screaming about lawyers and false arrests, until officers finally secured her wrists. This isn't over, she shrieked, as they dragged her toward the doors. Then silence. Emergency lights pulsed red over shocked guests, abandoned champagne and melting birthday cake. Marilyn's knees buckled. I caught her as she trembled. Stanley, she whispered. Our son. Our boy. I know, I murmured, holding her close. Lucas stood alone in the red glow, watching his parents being led into separate patrol cars. 13 years old and aging 10 years in one night. Officer Reyes approached gently. Mr. and Mrs. Thorne will need statements at the station. Lucas, as well. He's our key witness. I nodded, still studying Marilyn. Through the window, police lights splashed blue and red across Charleston Harbor. 70 silent guests stared, already memorizing the story they'd retell for months. The Thorne family, the party, the arrests. We moved toward the exit. Lucas slipped beside me, and I wrapped an arm around him. He leaned into me, exhausted. Reyes held the door open. This way, we stepped into the humid Charleston night, leaving the party, the whispers, the shattered version of our family behind. And as I looked at Lucas in the flashing lights, understanding the weight he'd carry, I realized the nightmare wasn't ending. It was only beginning. Especially for him. The arrest should have been the end. Instead, they were the beginning of discovering how deep the rot went. It was nearly 11 at night in the Charleston Police Department. Lucas sat beside me in Detective Sullivan's office, red-rimmed, but composed now. Marilyn sat across from us, back. We'd been giving statements for over an hour. Sullivan placed a manila folder on the desk. Your son and daughter-in-law weren't working alone. He opened it. Emails, printouts, client lists. On top lay a polished business card carrying children resources, helping families navigate difficult decisions. Randall Keating runs this, Sullivan said. Looks like elder care consulting. In reality, he tapped the file. It's a blueprint for adult children to legally rob their parents. Marilyn leaned forward. How many? 15 families in Charleston so far, possibly more statewide. He slid an email toward us. This is from Crystal Tay to Kinging. 3 months ago, I read her cold words. Mother-in-law inherited $250,000 cash, plus 680K house. Physically healthy and sharp. Will need strong documentation. Fast timeline preferred. What's your fee for full service package? Full service package. Marilyn whispered. They were shopping for someone to destroy me. Sullivan nodded. Keating supplies everything. He connected them with Dr. Bartlett. He's done at least 8 fake incompetency assessments. Keating's network includes lawyers who specialize in emergency guardianships, judges who don't ask questions, and nursing home staff who look the other way. He spread photos across the desk, surveillance shots of Marilyn shopping at church, at lunch. Months of staging. Blake took these, Lucas said quietly. He even asked me to help. Said it was for a birthday video. I put a hand on his trembling shoulder. He asked me questions, Lucas continued. If Grandma ever forgot anything, if she seemed confused, I thought he was worried. He looked at Marilyn. I didn't know he was building a case. Marilyn reached for his hand. Sweetheart, you saved me. None of this is your fault. After a moment, Sullivan asked the question we'd been avoiding. Mrs. Thorne, we have enough to prosecute multiple felonies. Elder abuse, conspiracy fraud, kidnapping, attempt forgery. Do you want to press full charges? Yes, Marilyn said instantly. Every charge, even if it means Blake. Especially Blake. He planned this for months. He used his own son. He meant to drug me at my birthday party. She squeezed Lucas's hand. Full charges. Detective, Sullivan nodded. Child Protective Services has been notified. Given the circumstances, they're granting you temporary guardianship of Lucas. Lucas straightened. I can stay with you as long as you want. I said, you're home now. Officer Reyes appeared. Detective Mrs. Thorne's daughter is online too. Marilyn stepped into the hall. I heard her voice steady then, breaking, then steady again. Sydney honey, sit down. Something happened tonight. When she returned, Sullivan opened another thick folder filled with photos. These are Keating's other victims, he said, spreading them out. 15 families. Most of the elderly parents are already committed, some for months. 3 faces held my eye. Elilana Whitman, 78. Arthur Preston, 74. Beatrice Ashworth, 91. Beneath each photo were facility names, commitment dates, and the relatives who'd arranged it. Every case signed by Dr. Bartlett. Can they be helped? Marilyn asked. Legally hard. Their families hold guardianship and long-term contracts. But if someone challenged the assessments, Marilyn lifted Eleanor's photo. Stanley, she said softly. If Lucas was brave enough to save me, we can be brave enough to save them. 3 days after my son's arrest, we walked into Sunset Hills Nursing Home in Mount Pleasant to meet Eleanor Whitman. Lucas insisted on coming. The place wasn't terrible, just institutional. Beige walls, fluorescent lights, antiseptic masking, something stale. The receptionist smiled too brightly and asked us to sign in. Room 247 overlooked the parking lot. Elena sat in a wheelchair by the window, thin and pale in a hospital gown, staring down at the cars. Her white hair was neatly curled, her hands folded in her lap. When we knocked, she turned slowly, as if not expecting anyone. Mrs. Whitman. Marilyn stepped forward. I'm Marilyn Thorne. This is my husband, Stanley, and our grandson, Lucas. Detective Sullivan gave us your name. Elilana blinked in surprise. You're really here to visit me? Yes, ma'am, Marilyn said, pulling up a chair. If you're willing, we'd like to talk. Eleanor's hand lifted to her throat instinctively. I don't get visitors. My daughter says the drive is too far. How far does she live? I asked gently. Somerville. 12 minutes. She said it without bitterness. But Rachel's busy with real estate. I understand. 12 minutes. Lucas went still beside me. Mrs. Whitman, Marilyn asked softly. How did you end up here? Elilana looked at her hands. 8 months ago, Rachel brought papers to sign insurance. She said Medicare. I trusted her. She's my daughter. A breath. Next morning, I woke up here. Rachel said I'd had an episode and wasn't safe alone. By the time I understood anything, my house was sold. My accounts closed. Everything gone. What did you do before retiring? Lucas asked. Her face brightened. I taught English at Charleston High 35 years. Hamlet was my specialty. This above all, to thine own self be true. The smile faded. I should have remembered that when I signed those papers. You sound very sharp to me, I said. The doctors here agree. I don't belong in memory care. They moved me to assisted living, but I shouldn't be in any facility. Her voice hardened. I asked for my checkbook last month. They told me Rachel manages everything now. Better this way. For whom I wonder. Marilyn reached over and took her hand. I went to the facility director, a middle-aged man with tired eyes. Mrs. Whitman is under legal guardianship, he said before I finished. We don't make those decisions. We followed the paperwork. She doesn't need care, I said. She needs her life back. Take it up with the courts. I can't intervene. He stood signaling the end of the conversation. Lucas suddenly spoke from the doorway. She could have been my grandma. If my dad's plan worked, she'd be in a room like this. The director looked uncomfortable. I'm sorry, son, but these cases are complicated. In the parking lot, Marilyn stared back at the building, a block of beige brick, and forced cheerfulness, holding people whose only mistake was trusting their children. That should have been me, she whispered. In 6 months, I'd be in that room wondering why my family stopped loving me. Lucas stood beside her face. Far too old for 13. Grandma, how many more are there? How many Elilinas, waiting for someone who's never coming? We drove home in silence, each of us carrying the weight of that question. Over the next 4 months, we became advocates for the people the system forgot. Lucas at 13 became a voice for the silenced. Week 2. Arthur Preston. Arthur Preston sat in Pinero's common room, completing the Friday New York Times crossword, the hardest one of the week in pen. 74 years old, retired math professor Sharp. As the day he'd published his first paper, published 47 academic papers. He told us, tapping the newspaper, apparently I'm still competent enough for differential equations, but not for managing a checkbook. His daughter visited monthly with new documents, to sign power of attorney revisions, updated financial arrangements. Arthur refused them all, but from inside a facility, refusal only went so far. He had theoretical control of his accounts, but no practical way to access them. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. He said she's not Blake Thorne with his 3-month timeline. She's patient, but the end result is the same. Week 6, Beatrice Ashworth, Palmetto Gardens. The same facility Blake had chosen for Marilyn. The irony wasn't lost on any of us. Beatrice Ashworth, 91 years old, sat in the visiting room wearing a dress suit and pearls. Small but regal, fierce. I'm 91, not incompetent, she informed us. There's a difference, though my son seems to have forgotten. He's a lawyer, for God's sake. Created a guardianship he claims is unbreakable. She gestured to a notebook on the table. I keep a journal, document every violation, file a complaint every single day. They call me difficult. I call myself alive. Lucas listened, quiet and serious. You're very brave, Beatrice told him. Turning in your own parents to save your grandmother. That took more courage than most adults ever find. Lucas's eyes filled, but he nodded. Someone had to help her. Yes. Beatrice touched his hand. And now you're helping us. I'd rather die than give up, young man. But I'd much prefer to die free. Month 4. Legal aid and Eleanor's freedom. Jennifer Hayes, the legal aid attorney, spread documents across our new downtown condos. Dining table, medical evaluations, forensic financial analysis, evidence of coercion. These cases are complex, she explained. We need to prove the original guardianships were obtained fraudulently. That means documentation, expert testimony, and time. Lucas's had created a spreadsheet tracking all 11 cases color-coded by status, with notes on each person's situation, legal needs, and progress. He updated it every night. Elena's breakthrough came when bank records revealed her daughter, Rachel, had withdrawn $180,000 in 3 months. An independent doctor's evaluation confirmed what we already knew. Elena Whitman was completely competent. The judge reversed the guardianship. Elena moved to an upscale senior community she chose herself, not one her daughter selected. Our first real victory. Marilyn made her decision that same week. I'm selling the house, the one Blake wanted to steal. We'll use the money for this work, helping people like Eleanor, like Arthur, like Beatrice. We moved to a smaller condo downtown. Marilyn didn't need that big house anymore. She needed purpose. By month 4, we'd freed 3 people and had 8 cases actively moving through the courts. We were exhausted. We were winning. 4 months after my son's arrest, Detective Sullivan called. Trial date is set. November 15th. Randall Keating, Blake Thorne, Crystal Thorne, Dr. Kenneth Bartlett, all being tried together. Federal conspiracy charges, plus state elder abuse, fraud, and forgery. He paused. Mr. Thorne, are you and your family ready for this? I looked across the condo. Lucas at his laptop updating his spreadsheet. Marilyn reviewing witness statements with Jennifer Hayes. For months of work leading to this moment. Detective, I said, we've been ready since the moment Lucas locked those car doors. 5 months after that night, I stood in a Charleston courtroom watching my son get sentenced. Lucas stood between Marilyn and me, about to witness his parents imprisoned because he'd been brave enough to lock a car door and press record. It was November 15th. The courtroom was packed. Victims. We'd helped reporters, advocates, families who knew this nightmare. Judge Patricia Morrison, steel-haired and sharp-eyed, presided. The defendants will rise for sentencing. Blake stood. Crystal stood. Across the room, Randall Keating and Dr. Kenneth Bartlett stood for people who built careers on exploiting the elderly. Judge Morrison began. Randall Keating, you operated a criminal enterprise targeting vulnerable seniors. You were sentenced to 25 years in federal prison without parole. You'll be 73 when released, to the age of many victims. Keating went pale. Dr. Kenneth Bartlett, you violated your oath. Falsifying evaluations for profit. 12 years in prison, license permanently revoked. Bartlett stared at the floor. Crystal Thorne, you researched and orchestrated the conspiracy against your mother-in-law. 18 years eligible for parole after 12. Crystal didn't look at Lucas. Blake Thorne. Morrison paused. Your attorney says you were manipulated, that your son needs a father. Mr. Thorne, your son needed a father when you planned to drug your own mother at her birthday party. He has one now in his grandfather. 20 years eligible for parole after 15. Her gavel stilled any objection. Does anyone wish to address the court? Eleanor Whitman stood first, describing 8 stolen months and watching through a window for a daughter who never came. Arthur Preston spoke about being trapped with a functioning mind, but no access to his own life. 91-year-old Beatrice Ashworth said she'd rather die free than live imprisoned by her son. Then Marilyn stood. This case exposed systemic failures. She said, steady and strong. We must protect our elderly without imprisoning them. 11 people were freed because one 13-year-old boy acted when adults failed. That shouldn't be necessary. Until the system changes, we will keep fighting. The courtroom applauded, and Judge Morrison allowed it. As bailiffs led the defendants away, Blake turned and mouthed to Lucas, "I'm sorry, I love you." Lucas didn't answer. Crystal never looked back. 6 months later, on a warm spring afternoon, Marilyn and I stood in the office of Sarah's Legacy Foundation, named for her sister, whose inheritance had sparked both the crime and its undoing. 11 people freed, 4 cases still moving through the courts. Lucas, 14 now, came in after school twice a week to help organizing files, updating the database he'd built, talking to families only beginning to grasp what their children had done. He saw a therapist every Thursday. Some weeks were harder than others. Blake sent letters. Lucas kept them unopened in a shoebox. Maybe someday he'd read them, maybe not. Crystal never wrote at all. Sydney flew in from Boston monthly to help, family stitching itself back together. Marilyn sold the house. Blake tried to steal and moved into a modest downtown condo, the remaining inheritance funding the foundation. At 61, she was stronger than ever. Lucas talked about studying elder law, so no one else has to record their parents planning something terrible. He said, "Age doesn't make you weak, it reveals who you are." Blake thought his mother's age made her vulnerable. He now had 20 years to reconsider. Lucas had lost his parents, but found purpose. At 13, he'd chosen justice over silence. That kind of courage endures. 5 months ago, he saved one life. Today, he was helping save many. Some endings are beginnings. We learned that the hard way. This is my true story, and I'm sharing it as a warning. I never imagined I'd become one of those grandpa stories you hear about, the kind where family turns predator. But here's what I learned the hard way. Trust but verify, even with your own children. Blake was a good son for 35 years. Then greed found a crack in his character, and a man named Randall Keating taught him how to weaponize love against his own mother. This true story could happen to anyone. It almost happened to us. My advice, don't be like me. Don't wait until your 13-year-old grandson has to become the adult in the room. Watch for warning signs. Sudden interest in your finances, papers to sign for insurance. Talk about memory issues. You don't have suggestions that you're not safe alone. These are red flags that nearly cost Marilyn everything. If Lucas hadn't been brave enough to record that conversation, this would be a very different true story. One where an innocent woman lost her freedom, her home, and her dignity because the system failed her. By God's grace and one child's courage, we're here to tell. You protect your elderly loved ones, but also protect them from those who'd exploit your trust. These grandpa stories shouldn't exist, but they do. 15 families in Charleston alone. If this story resonated with you, please comment below, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel. Your awareness might save a life. It saved ours.